WNST touting our final little dose of fake football and awaiting Joe Flacco in Cincinnati next week. But baseball is on the tongue here in Baltimore. We got a little pennant fever going on as the Orioles went up to Fenway Park over the weekend and got the job done. This guy has been to Fenway Park and Wrigley Field, Dodger Stadium. He gets all over the place. He is the longtime USA Today Major League Baseball columnist and insider. He's always very generous with his time and his updates with us here at WNST in Baltimore. And we welcome Bob Nightingale back onto the program. You can follow him at BNightingale on Twitter. Nightingale, when are you coming to Baltimore now? They're back in this thing. It's time for all the national writers to come in here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Go there, catch them on the road. But yeah, they're a phenomenal weekend series. I don't think anybody saw that coming. You don't sweep Boston anywhere, let alone Fenway Park.
Yeah, and sort of every time the patient is dead, it sits up. And look, I think this is a tribute to Buck and to Duquette, and at the trading deadline that they went with Beckham, they went with Hellickson. What did you make of those moves, Bob? I haven't had you on since before the trading deadline.
Yeah, I mean, Beckham just kind of on the radar. He wasn't doing anything with Tampa. He kind of just came away, and now he's become a stud in Baltimore. And this is one of the best pickups of the trade deadline. Way on the radar, but this guy's helped his team as much as anybody.
Well, they're going to see Seattle this week and obviously Toronto over the weekend, which out of it, and the Yankees next week, which feel very much into it. But the rest of the way, all of these games are going to be against many of the teams that they are competing with. So, some thoughts about the Mariners. They seem to be the flavor of the month. A lot of folks picked them earlier in the season. It feels like the pitching is going to come back, but until I see King Felix and, I see the other ace out on the hill, I don't know that I have great belief in them at the bottom of the rotation, but they've held it together without Paxton and without Hernandez.
They have. We'll see how long it lasts. They need these guys eventually here. That's what I like about September baseball. So, now it's not the best 25-man team anymore. Who's got the best organization? So we'll see who's got the deepest organizations, and that's what it comes down to. There's 7 teams all bunched up there. For those American League wildcard spots. Even Minnesota's hanging tough, and their front office gave up on their team.
Well, and for teams having the fire sale at the deadline, there was no one that really sort of went all in the way the Yankees did last year to deal away. But when you get a pickup like Beckham, and we've been at this a long time around here in Baltimore. I go back to the Lonnie Smiths and the Craig Lefferts and, all sorts of crazy things that happened. Eddie Murray in the other direction at one point, and Fred Lynn as well. Most of the deals, it feels like there's going to be an impact, and sometimes a pitcher can make an impact every 5th day over the course of 2 months. But, it's been very rare that the Orioles have been involved in anything like this Beckham thing, where someone has come in and had that kind of impact. That's just rare all the way around. I mean, as much as we talk a lot about it before the deadline, this is exactly the kind of shot in the arm that you usually don't get no matter whom you deal for, right?
No, and they particularly get them for nothing. I mean, I just saw the race, and they can't believe themselves that the players are hearing about it. They weren't the ones that made the trade, but I think it'd be a tough blow for the Rays if they miss out on the playoffs and the Orioles are in because of the Beckham trade.
He is Bob Nightingale. He's getting around to lots of places for USA Today. You can follow him at BNightingale out on Twitter as well. All right, so you've seen a bunch of these teams. Handicapping these 7 teams in the race right now. Tampa's certainly still in this thing. Minnesota has had a total never say die. Kansas City has all of this pedigree. Plus these West Coast teams the Orioles have been seeing. What do you think happens here, Bob?
I just think I still like the Royals. I know they've stunk up the place in Cleveland, but this team knows how to win. I like the Yankees to get one spot. Who knows? Maybe all 3 teams. Maybe it's the Yankees, Orioles, and Red Sox. The second one is too close to call. I do believe the Yankees or Red Sox get one. I still think the Red Sox win the division, so I'll go with the Yankees. And then I still like the Royals for that second spot. But it's almost a flip of the coin. Things change by the week.
No one loves the Yankees to win the division, do they? Everyone is still sort of sold on the Red Sox. And after watching the Orioles go in there and punch them around over the weekend, I would be a little concerned if I were a Red Sox fan right now about the Yankees, even though we haven't seen the Yankees put their best foot forward either.
Yeah, it's just nobody really believes that rotation. It's like, okay, how are they going to win with that rotation? Even Chapman's not pitching well in relief. He's out of the closer's role. It just Aaron Judge now has been removed from the lineup. So they just had so many things going wrong right now. That's why I think everybody just keeps saying, I do too, that the Red Sox are just a better team. At some point, they pull off and win this thing by 4 or 5 games.
Bob, I know you've been doing this for the better part of 3 decades, and you might, like me, have been a fan for half a century of all things baseball. And, we go back to these incredibly special teams. The Orioles had one of those teams back when I was an infant in the late 60s, and obviously the Seattle year, obviously the Yankees year. I go back to the 84 Tigers in that year after the Orioles won the World Series. We went out there and saw them in June with my pop out on 33rd Street. And they were 35-5 to start the season. But what the Dodgers have done, this is, literally you won't see this again for quite some time. It's been that impressive, and especially given that they've had some deficiencies here, losing their best pitcher and best player, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. This year there's, very few teams that are good. A lot of mediocrity in baseball, a lot of terrible teams. But for the Dodgers to do it in the National League West, when you have 2 very good teams in the Colorado Rockies or the Diamondbacks, is really saying something. Just a very deep, deep talented team. I mean, they're so deep in September, they may even have a better record. That being said, just got, beat 2 out of 3 games by the Brewers at Chavez Ravine. And, we'll see what happens in October. I mean, for the Dodgers, because of the season they've had, it'll only be a good season, or it'll only be a great season, if they make it to the World Series. If they get knocked out, first round or second round, it's going to be a disaster.
Bob, speaking of disasters, everything going on down in Houston right now, and how this is going to affect sports in so many ways. And we're all sports fans, and I certainly don't take it lightly. And for the Ravens going down to New Orleans and playing this week, my wife and I barely made it out of there after the football game and before Katrina came back in 2006. So seeing all these incredibly devastating images and all that's going on there, boy, the Houston Astros had this thing on autopilot for a while. Now they're going to go live in a hotel down in Tampa at some point and try to play baseball while the city, I don't know how the city's going to pick up the pieces, Bob. I mean, that remains to be seen, but it certainly will affect baseball and will affect the Houston Astros in whatever the story of their season's going to be, and however this turns out in Houston and for them as a baseball team. This has been, quite a story for them right now, right?
Yeah, they've had a terrific season. They've struggled ever since the trade deadline. The players were upset. They didn't make any moves. There's a disaster away from their families. It'll be interesting with the team on the road so long together. It's got a way to kind of united team. When the Astros went through with the Hurricane Ike, they became a closer knit team. So it'll be interesting to see how they react. I mean, obviously a huge inconvenience and very troublesome being away from their families. I would think the Astros would probably, send a plane to have their families join them if they want to come. Particularly since they'll be on the road probably for another, could be 19 straight days by the time this thing is all said and done. But yeah, it will be a very unfortunate incident. Now we'll see what the Astros, how they choose to respond from it as far as just on the baseball field.
Well, I think it's hard to say to love them as much as you did a month ago, knowing what they're about to go through, because it will take a special sense of resiliency and a team, and Washington has this going on. The Dodgers, where you could autopilot this thing right now. They're not going to be allowed to autopilot it the way the Nationals are just sort of moving the chairs around on the boat right now and trying to figure out where they want to be the first week of October.
No, I mean, they're still sitting pretty. I mean, they're cruising to the playoffs, but you worry about them. And their big thing is they need those 3 starting pitchers, Keiko, McCullers, McHugh, to be all set, ready to go. If you do that, they'll forget about the struggles they've had. And they're going to get Carlos Correa back and get their guys all healthy. So they just got to turn it on. And, I think the American League is just so wide open. I mean, you're talking about, Boston and Cleveland and Houston, and the way Cleveland's playing right now, they might have to be the favorites for American League.
Bob, what'd you make of those uniforms over the weekend, man? You a traditionalist like me, and was it hurting your eyes a little bit?
They're okay. I mean, it kind of reminds you like a spring training thing. You know, it's like it's a little confusing. You're inside a clubhouse. You're saying, okay, who's that guy? Who's that guy? That sort of thing. But as long as the players and fans got a kick out of it, you know, I think it will grow. I think the Sam fans got a kick out of it. We'll see how the big thing is how the fans respond by buying up those, you know, jerseys and stuff for charities. That'll be the big key.
He is Bob Nightingale. He is B. Nightingale out at USA Today and traveling all around from St. Louis and Tampa out to see the San Francisco Giants. You know, lost amidst all of the good teams here, there are bad teams. You know, we've seen the Oakland A's come through here. I've seen what's going on up in Philadelphia. And I know you try to cover the whole league, not just the winners. And I'm sure you'll be here in Baltimore now that the Orioles are on the trail here and playing the Yankees next week and whatnot. But, you know, there are other stories happening in these other places where nothing's going on in the big leagues right now, and they're trying to figure out how to stop playing 400 and 380 ball, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least this year, so many teams are involved. I mean, I guess all but 3 teams in the American League, I mean, are actually in a race. National League's different. I mean, National League, you only have really 5 or 6 teams really in contention, so it's going to be a long September for them. But, you know, for the rest, it's been a fun baseball. That's what baseball wants. They want the parity, and they got it now more than ever.
He is Bob Nightingale. You can find him, B. Nightingale, out on Twitter as well as at USA Today. Bob, always love visiting with you. Come see us here in Baltimore. Have a crab cake while our team's in the race. I can't promise you they'll still be in the race a month from now, but based on what I've seen so far, yeah, I wouldn't bet against it. I mean, what they did in Fenway over the weekend has made us all believers here a little bit.
All right, looking forward to it.
Thanks, Bob. There he goes, Bob Nightingale, B. Nightingale at USA Today, doing all things baseball, and he's hopscotching from stadium to stadium, and certainly the Orioles this week just home cooking. Ravens playing the finale of the fake football in New Orleans, and we're just sort of chilling around here and waiting for Joe Flacco to get us ready for Cincinnati a week and a half from now. And between now and then, the Orioles are going to play a lot of baseball and some ups and downs. I might even make my way to Camden Yards before it's all over with me being the front runner that I am, of course. The BuyAToyota.com audio vault is there for you 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Download the TuneIn Radio app, and you can listen from anywhere you want, anytime you want. It is the BuyAToyota.com audio vault. Morning newspaper ships to your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. That's all powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's always $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. Get a little more inspiration out at Planet of Triumphs as the summer comes to a close. Text service going to be active. The Orioles are expanding to 40, and obviously the Ravens are cutting more. And we got that awful news on Albert McClellan. We hate losing the veterans, and he's a great dude. So, the injury march continues for the Ravens. But it all comes to you first on the WNST text service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Of course, Dennis Golatzos will be here on Thursday driving you home from 3 until 5. We will join him in advance of the final fake football in New Orleans. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. You find me anywhere you live on your mobile device. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Nasty at WNST.net finds me, and if you're looking for me on September 23rd, you're going to find me at the Fox at XL pub, eating fish and chips, drinking pints, and getting ready to take the cable car over the River Thames to the O2 Arena. We're doing a march. It's all purple. It's all free. All you need to do is come join us in the Docklands area on Saturday, the 23rd of September. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.